Okay, so today on How I Spent the Apocalypse, I'm going to show you some of the things that we started in some of the earlier things, or that we touched on that we didn't really ever come back to, or I'm just going to catch you up. The brooder is now full of baby chicks, as you can see. I think I showed you this before, but now that it's in working order, I will show you. I have them back there. The light helps them stay warm. They probably don't need that right now, but they think they do. And then I've got, you can see there's little doorways for them to go through. And then just a couple of days ago, I opened this up. Until then, they were in here where they could stay warm, but you can see they're growing pretty good. I can already see where the cockerels are in the hens. That's a little cockerel. See his comb? That's a little cockerel. This is a little hen. Okay, but in another week, I'll be able to clearly define which are which, and I will separate the cockerels from the hens. The hens I'll be keeping to lay eggs, and the cockerels I will keep to eat. Okay, so you'll notice I've got some squash in here, and you can see I just put that in there, and you can see they hit it pretty hard. Okay, one of the reasons you want to keep something in there is because baby chickens are real bad, especially when they're crowded like that, about feather picking. This is another reason when they get bigger, I need to separate them because there's not enough room in these pens. I will probably move the roosters to the hens to this pen and put the roosters in one of the back pens. So that's what we're doing. Okay, but by keeping food in there that they'll like to eat, which we have an abundance of squash. So if Lynn will pan around, you can see my chickens are also eating the excess squash. This cuts our feed bill and gives them good nutrition. By keeping that in there for the babies, it keeps them from feather picking, also gives them good nutrition, keeps them from getting bored. Okay, the other thing I'm doing today...
Yeah, it blows my mind every time you say that. Chickens get bored. I guess all animals do,
Yes, all
don't
animals get bored if they're in pens. Okay, especially when they're in pens. Okay, so, and the thing that will make animals less bored is always related to food.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. They're very much like you know how in the pandemic you guys are all eating all the time? That's what animals do too. When they get bored, they want to eat all the time. All right, so the other thing I'm doing is I've knocked one of the compost barrels down because I'm getting ready to plant fall crops. And I'll show you that later today. But what I do is I knock the barrels over, and then I just take a shovel.
And this amazes me too.
Yeah, because when I put this in here, it's everything from dead animal carcasses. And yes, sometimes I'll even pick up roadkill because then the chickens get to eat the maggots off the roadkill and it makes fantastic fertilizer. You don't technically, that's why I knocked this over. You don't want to be breathing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, this is everything. This is all corn cobs and pieces of stick and, you know, rabbit shit and chicken shit and
Worm
the
casings.
stuff that they don't eat. Like when they won't eat all of the squash. They'll
Right.
leave the outside shell. I'll sweep it all up and put it in here. Then when you get done, you have nothing but dirt.
How long does it take for one of those barrels to go from that kind of stuff to this?
I normally, because I have so many of them, I let them go for a year. In fact, if you look, some of these are marked. Because I like to let them go for a year, especially if they have animal carcasses in them.
Right.
Because I like to make sure, and they usually do have at least 1 or 2 animal carcasses, even if it's something I pick up or kill here on the place or an animal dies. When I butcher a chicken, when I butcher goats, they go in the barrel.
Right.
And it
Parts of them do, yeah.
Parts of them go in the barrel. Most everything I use. So even if I just use it for compost. So I will take this dirt and I will be using it today to rebuild the soil before I plant my fall crop.
Oh, because of course it's depleted.
It's depleted. So that's it for right now.
Okie dokie. Okay,
Yeah, I'm ready.
here you go.
All right, so this is my cold frame. Now, if I had it to do over again, I would build it a little different. I'd build the sides. I'd put an angle on the sides and build it taller in the back and shorter in the front. But this works just fine. We've had this for 15 years. I've never fixed it because it works the way it is. Okay, basically, Len's daddy tore out their old storm door. There's the storm door. Okay. When I want to vent it, it's going to be too hot during the day, but not super hot. You don't want to take a chance. You vent it by taking a couple of sticks. Oh, it's so difficult putting it in either side. It's a nice hot day, you open it up. Right now, you're going to get your plant started. All summer long, that stayed open, of course, and if you noticed earlier, it actually had corn growing in it.
Yeah.
It had potatoes growing in it. So I'll plant other stuff, summer crops. It's time to plant fall crops. Okay, so some fall crops. I'm going to plant some pak choy. I'm going to plant some spinach, some beets, not all of it in here. I'm going to plant some radishes, even though we don't really care for radishes. Somebody gave us the seeds, we're going to use them. I'm going to plant some green peas. They may make it, they may not. Carrots and lettuce. Okay, I'm going to plant carrots and lettuce and spinach in this bed because I know that they do the best through the winter. The only time I've ever lost anything in this bed is when we dipped to below zero.
It stayed there for a while, yeah.
Now, one year we lost it because it dipped below zero. The next year when I knew it was going to dip below zero, I went and got a bunch of my old sheets out of the shop and put about 4 layers of sheets over it. We didn't lose anything. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to plant this. If you keep planting one crop after another, you can make even a small garden like ours feed you all year.
But you have to do things like replace the soil the way you just did.
Yes, I just replaced the soil. I just brought brand new soil and put in there to enrich it. So now I'll plant some plants and we'll see what happens.
Yay. All right.
Okay, I'm sure you remember the tank that we hooked up. It's now full. Okay, but remember the downspout I put in? Well, the tanks do something, which I'm not going to pretend I really know the physics behind it, but apparently when they fill, they move, even inside the cage. And as you can see, our pipe that was about here, sticking straight out, is now caught on this, and it broke the silicone seal.
Oh, great.
And instead of coming out the pipe, it's now coming out down there. So I may have to cut this, which I can do with the angle grinder, and let it pop out straight again. But before I do that, I'm just going to try to do a real quick seal with some silicone. And you know, I had used up my last caulking tube of silicone, but fortunately, I have 4 more of these that I got at the railroad damage for a little of nothing. So I didn't even know I had them. I'm always buying stuff like that and putting it back in case I did that on purpose. It's like having a booger on your finger you can't get off. Just so you know. This is like not smell-o-vision, but it's close. So I dried it off. I let water out of the tank, which is why it's not quite as high as it was earlier. I'm going to fill this up with silicone and then rub it around, you know, with my finger.
Oh, yeah.
And pretend like it's not going to stick. Always pretend like it's not going to stick.
Yeah, spit on the finger and then get it on all the others.
No, I'm going to use, I've got water this time.
Oh, okay, there you go.
I only use spit when I don't have water.
Oh. Okay.
And the best, okay, if you really want it not to stick and you really want to do it with your finger, yeah, that could be taken any number of bad ways. Forget I said that. Heard it as soon as I said it. All right, so if you really don't want to, what you do is you mix up a little dishwashing liquid in some water.
Okay.
Dip your fingers in that, and then you can move silicone all day as long as you do it every time, and it won't stick. Water, half-assed at best, but with soap in it, it'll almost always keep it. So we'll see. This is one of those may or may not work fixes, but on this one, like I said, I'm mostly trying to show you what we've already done and where it stands. Well, this works really good. In fact, the other side, the other gutter, the gutter I put in the other way actually runs out the other side, and I'm going to wind up putting in a a stock tank on the other side. We'll fill every time it rains, and we'll check that and see if that worked. I'll probably try, if it leaks again, I'll probably try silicone again before I cut that, because I'd rather not do it. Okay, turn it off now. All right, so this is one of the raised beds that I made. This was the one that we had in corn. We've eaten all the corn, of course, and I harvested the stalks for fodder later this winter. And then I pulled up all the roots, and I tilled it, and I've replanted it in fall crops. In fact, if you look, you can see the pak choi is already coming up. Okay? But what I wanted to show you is that these are old solar lights that no longer work. So I like to keep them, especially the ones like that that are kind of silly looking and fun. I like to keep them and use them to tell me where the end of a row is.
Oh.
So it's kind of a cool thing that you can do. You get to have the solar lights until they don't work, and then you can stick them in the ground. Use them for stakes. Also, I often use the bottom parts for staking all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, take the light off and
Okay, you
just
can
use
turn
the
that
stake.
off now. Okay, so I'm mostly going to the barn to get a pair of scissors that I can use to go do what I want to show you what I'm doing. But real quick, I'm going to show you. Okay, so this is my weed eater. And as with all weed eaters, the line never feeds correctly. Have I already had this bitch before?
I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's a
It
good
never
one.
feeds correctly. Do you know why? Do you know why weed eaters all suck? Because they're created by engineers who make $1 bazillion and have never used a fucking weed eater. At any rate, they never feed correctly. Well, mine ate the little metal grommet that was in here, which was made out of tinfoil, I fucking think. And so when it did, I thought, well, it'll still work. No, it won't, because that's plastic, this is plastic, and it kept sticking. Got
Okay,
hot, and it would stick, and it would break in like 10 seconds. So I went to my junk pile. You remember my junk pile. You're jealous of my junk pile, aren't you? You're jealous of my junk. Okay. So I went to my junk pile, and I found this piece right here, which is actually a really good piece in an old weed eater that somebody had thrown away. Okay, so I pulled that piece. It didn't fit in there by any long stretch of the imagination. So I drilled it out until it would. Then I stuck it in there with plumber's epoxy. And I used it yesterday, and it works really well. So there you go.
What else did you learn about weed eaters that we didn't know on the cord?
Oh, don't fucking try to wind them tight.
Yeah, they tell you to wind them tight,
They
but
tell
don't.
you to wind them tight and to not cross them over or anything, which is impossible. So I found out from my brother-in-law, Mark, who weed eated 45 bazillion places for like 10 years. And he said, no, the trick is to put it in not too loose or too tight and to just wrap it, and that way it doesn't tangle. So I did that, and it worked after all these years. But I mostly came to get scissors, so you can turn that off now.
Okay.
All right, so if you have been watching from episode 1, you'll remember our aquaculture project. And you'll also remember that the mint that I planted in there was 3 little bitty sprigs about this big.
Yep.
That was however many fucking months, I don't know.
Not that many.
Not that many
About
ago.
2.5.
And now I have to actually cut this because it's in the water.
Oh my goodness.
And so it's time to harvest it. So I'm going to cut it back. Now, when you cut it back, you want to leave leaves. You don't want to cut it all the way off. You want to leave some leaves on there, but it doesn't have to be a whole lot, because as you can see, there was not a whole lot to start with, and this is what we have now.
But you don't cut it past the leaves. You always leave leaves on the thing.
You always want to leave leaves, yeah.
Okay.
If you don't leave leaves, then there's nothing to catch the sunlight, and they will just...
of course.
And they will probably come back because they're exceedingly resilient mint. It's kind of hard to kill mint out. In fact, don't put it anywhere you don't want it.
Yeah.
Except that it also likes water, which is one of the reasons I decided to use it in the aquaculture thing. Because, of course, what happens with aquaculture is that the fish feeds your plants as the pump pumps it up and through the plants, and the plants' roots filter your water. I can't even show you the water coming out of this right now because the mint is so aggressive. So hopefully, goddamn, these scissors should cut right through there. The stems are hard.
Yeah. Good hardy plants.
Yeah. Oh yeah, these are definitely I don't know how well other plants would do. I imagine any plant would do well in there. I've seen people do tomatoes, and it's supposed to be really good for tomatoes. But I know this, mint will do very well. All right. So I'm going to let Lynn turn that off for a minute, and so I can go ahead and cut the rest of that because it's going to take a while and it's just going to be boring.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm taking out some of the stuff that fell in, but I also wanted you to see, before I cut it, I wanted you to see what that mint has done. It went through the bottom and it came up and it's made more plants. I'm going to pull these plants, probably just give them to the chickens, but you could take those and plant them see the roots on the end?
There's roots right
You
there.
could take those and replant them. I don't need them. I have plenty of mint. As Lynn will show you when she turns around and shows you our haul.
That's just what you pulled off today.
Okay. So also I'll show you real quick. I'll show you that that tire thing. I'll take the mint off for a minute so you can see.
I want to
that.
show them the water out of here. If I
Okay,
can
we'll do it in a minute.
Oh, okay.
Do it when I want to. Damn it, Lynn!
Okay.
Okay, so all of this is the mint we just got in about 3 minutes.
Yes.
And as you can see, there's still lots of plant there. Okay, I'm going to take this out here.
So you can. Yeah. Otherwise, the chickens will eat it.
No, they won't. No, chickens won't eat mint, and neither will goats.
You know what? I knew that. I'd forgotten
Yeah,
that.
chickens won't eat mint. Neither will goats.
I had
I
forgotten.
threw it out there for them, but I guarantee when I come back, it'll still be there. Okay, so this, remember I told you I don't like to throw things away, but there's certain things that I just can't find a real use for, but I do anyway. These old tires, okay, and underneath there is a ginormous television set. I literally dug a hole, put the TV on it, and then I put these tires around it, filled the tires with dirt, and now I've got plant life growing in there. This is to keep the chickens. I didn't have this last year, and this came up and it was pretty and beautiful just like this, and then the chickens fucking ate it all. Because animals are assholes. All right, so how did my fish thing work? Well, as you can see, the water runs in very, very well. It's a sunny day today, so look at that. So that's filtering. The pump is down in the tank. Okay, now, I had 10 fish in here. I lost half of them when it got hot and when they got big. Half of them died. So I realized I didn't have enough air. So I went and we got this. It's up on the roof. I may be able to tip
I can come from the other side
I
and
can
show
tip
it.
it up. Okay, this is a solar operated air pump. How much did it cost? 20 bucks?
Not even.
And it's like 15 or 20 bucks.
Yeah.
But at any rate, it now aerates my fish. And since I put it in, I haven't lost any more fish. Now I just messed with it. They might not come up. It'd be neat if they would come up because in the very first episode, if you fuckers didn't watch it, that's the reason I'm not rich instead of so fucking good looking. Go back and watch them. Assholes. Except for you guys that are watching, you're not assholes.
We
Just
love
you
you.
guys that didn't. There they go.
There they go.
Even though I
God,
just
they are
stirred it up
big.
and everything. Yeah, they're getting big. Well, I didn't have any trouble. They were all 10 of them were in there healthy and happy and snarling and doing that. And then the minute it got hot and they got so big, I lost 5 fish in like
yeah.
a day.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I did that, I had Lynn send for the aerator. And once 5 of them had died, I guess there was enough air for all of the rest of them. But the heat, it was a mixture of the heat
And their size.
and them getting so big. You could see when they hit, they're pretty
They're
big
pretty
now.
big now, yeah.
They're eating size now.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave them there till we get hungry, and then I'll catch the little bastards and eat them. No, I love you. That was just a joke.
Oh, they're eating well.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, you can turn that off, and that's the end of this episode.
Okay, say goodbye then.
Oh, that's the end of this episode. Until next time, don't be a douchebag.
There you go.